In exercise 3.4, we're looking at solving inequations. This is very similar to solving equations, but we just need to remember our rules for inequalities. The main thing being that if we multiply or divide by a negative number, we need to change our sign, our inequality sign, to the opposite. So we'll see that happen in some of these examples. So we get, for this one, we want to move that negative 3 to the right hand side. The opposite of subtracting 3 is adding 3, so that leaves me with a y here on the left. That's still going to be less than or equal to, and then I move that negative 3 across and it becomes a positive 3. Remember there I'm adding 3, not dividing or multiplying by a negative number. That's why my sign stays the same. So then I simply get y is less than or equal to 1 plus 3, which is y is less than or equal to 4. Now on a number line, my number line is going to be a little bit messy. Remember, we should use rulers and ensure that these are nice and neat when we draw our solution. But what this looks like on the number line is if we've got 4 just here, and then this will be 3 and 2 and 1 and 5, 6, 7 in the other direction. It tells me that my values of y are either 4, okay, so it includes 4, so I colour that in, or less than 4, so that's in this direction here. We put an arrow pointing in that direction. Okay, so that's our solution both algebraically and on the number line. So looking here at number 6, first we need to expand on the left hand side. So we get 4 times negative 1 times positive x gives me negative x, and then negative 1 times negative 1 gives me a positive 1 on the end. And I have less than or equal to 7 here. Now tidying up here, 4 plus 1 gives me 5 minus x on the left hand side, and then that's all less than or equal to 7. Now I want to move that 5 away to leave the x by itself. So when I move that 5, it's going to become a negative 5 over the other side. So I'll have negative x on the left hand side is less than or equal to 7 take away 5. So tidying up on the line below, I get negative x is less than or equal to 7 take away 5 gives me 2. Alright, now the problem is here I have a negative value for x. I'd much rather have that as a positive value, so I can fix that by multiplying both sides by negative 1. That just means I change the sign. So x, negative x becomes x. I also have to change my inequality sign because I've just multiplied my inequation by a negative number, which changes the direction of that sign in the middle. So my result is x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So again, drawing a number line, and just breaking it up so I can see that that negative 2 is kind of in the middle. Negative 4, okay, that's negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Just need to label a few points on there. And then I have negative 2, is the one that I need to circle. Again, because it can be greater than or equal to negative 2, I colour in that circle, and then I need to ensure that the arrow is pointing in the correct direction. So x can take on any value that is larger than or equal to negative 2, and that's how I show it on my number line. So we'll have a look at some slightly harder ones down here. They're not too much more difficult. With number 12, I need to multiply by 3 first of all to get this 2y by itself. So multiplying both sides by 3, 3 times 8 gives me 24. That remains as a greater than symbol, and it leaves me with a 2y on the right hand side. Now I'm just going to change the direction of this inequality by swapping the terms, which means on the next line it's going to look like this. 2y is less than 24. Notice that that's exactly the same thing as the line above. It's just written in the opposite direction. Now that's just because I usually have my variables or my pronumerals on the left when I'm solving. So now I'm going to divide through by 2 to leave y by itself. It's still a less than symbol, and 24 divided by 2 gives me 12. So my result is y is less than 12, and then we know how to graph that one on the number line, so I'll leave that bit up to you. No, actually we'll do it because we haven't seen one with just a less than. So just to remind you, here we go, I'll put my 12 in the middle here, and then going this way I've got 13, 14, 15, 14, 15, a bit messy, and then 11, 10 down here. Okay, so getting a different colour. I need to circle 12. Now, this tells us that y is always going to be less than 12, so this time I don't colour that circle in. I leave the circle open and I put an arrow pointing to the left, because remember, when it's just a less than rather than a less than or equal to or a greater than and equal to, we just leave that circle open. So, number 16. Looks harder than it is. The trick here is to remember our tricks with our algebraic fractions, and in order to eliminate those denominators, what I want is the lowest number, the lowest common multiple, or the lowest number that both 4 and 3 will go into nicely. Now that number's 12, so I'm going to multiply everything in this equation or in this inequation by 12. So we'll see what that looks like now on the line below. 12 times m over 4 gives me 12m over 4. Negative 3 times 12 gives me negative 36. This is still going to be a greater than, because notice I haven't multiplied or divided by a negative number. And then 2 times 12 on the top gives me 24. And then I've still got that 3 as my denominator on the right hand side. So doing a bit of tidying up, dividing the top of this by 4 and the bottom by 4 gives me 3m. Now that negative 36 can't be tidied up anymore, so we just leave that as a negative 36. Greater than now, 24 divided by 3 gives me 8. So that's now a little bit neater. Now I can start solving it the way that I have for some of the others. So moving this 36 over to the right hand side will leave me with a 3m on the left, and then on the right hand side I get 8 plus 36, which gives me 44, and then m is greater than 44 on 3, and of course we can write that in a slightly different way. You can write that as either a mixed numeral or a decimal. We're just going to leave it like that, and I'll leave it up to you to change it if the answer's in the back, give it in a different form. I hope that's helpful.